I'm now joined by the Executive Director and CEO of the Fiesta Bowl, Erik Moses. Erik, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Well, there's plenty to talk about this week, but let's start with kind of your role. You've now been in this role a couple of years now, looking at, certainly a lot of evolution in the college football space. What's that been like to oversee and experience in your short time here?
In a word, interesting. I joke with my team that I'm a little bit of a masochist because I get involved in industries when they're in upheaval, but that keeps it interesting and fun. And so, we have been seeking to make certain that the 50 plus years of goodwill and history that the Fiesta Bowl has continues, that we're able to continue to drive positive economic impact for the state of Arizona, to expose people, and young people in particular, from all over the country to our fantastic state and why it's a place they should want to live, work, and play, and certainly visit, and continue to deliver these charitable resources to communities all across Arizona. So, we've been surfing like everybody else, riding the waves, trying to make certain that we do everything that we can to stay well positioned in that now expanded college football tournament, in the pursuit of a national championship.
Let me ask that. There's obviously been a lot of discussion about the CFP and what it might look like moving forward. I mean, let's start with what it'll look like this year, because I think that's probably the best place to...
As far as we can see ahead.
Right, let's start 5 minutes in front of us.
Yeah.
When you look at the CFP and what it might entail moving forward and this year too, I guess what do you see as kind of the role of, whether it's the Fiesta Bowl or bowl games in general, how do you feel like they can fit into this ecosystem as it continues to evolve as well?
Oh, look, it's a fantastic question. I think we're at such a pivotal time right now in college athletics, and there's so much going on and so much change that it's important to preserve tradition where you can and where it makes sense, right? And we want to ideally marry traditions that can continue with innovation and creativity. An expanded format, I think it's great. We saw from last year, it brought more fan bases into it. People followed college football all the way through because you didn't have to throw your hands up in disgust when your team lost one game thinking they can never play for a national championship. So all of those changes I think are really good. But people love that which is familiar, and the bowl games are familiar. I mean, from the Rose Bowl at 112 years old to the Fiesta Bowl at 55, right? All of that, there have been so many great games, so many fantastic moments, and marrying that with an expanded feel, I think, really is the sweet spot. And so I think our role is to continue to provide that tradition, continue to treat those players, their fans, those staffs with world-class hospitality so that they enjoy the journey.
You guys obviously had a great game this year, part of the playoff, obviously, in the expanded playoff. How did that go? I mean, what was that like? And I guess what was kind of the experience like of seeing it in action in this sort of expanded universe, I guess, quote unquote?
It was great. I mean, we have less time to plan for the specific teams because, we're not the game or the penultimate game as we were in the previous cycle. So that was interesting. You're watching, one game to the first round game to feed your game. You've got a team that has a bye, and so it was interesting. We were able to interact with Boise State because they were sitting around as a conference champion with a bye waiting to play in our game. We could interact with them and promote that side of the draw, and then we had to wait to see between Penn State and SMU what would happen there. So it's certainly different than just finding out on Selection Sunday, these are our two teams and here we go.
No secret that Boise has its share of history at the Fiesta Bowl. I guess what was that like to be able to tap into? I mean, imagine that's kind of fun and an easy, for lack of a better term, marketing play for you guys and able to lean into.
It was the battle of the Fiesta Bowl unbeatens.
That's right.
So Penn State was 7-0 in our game, and Boise was 3-0 in our game. And so someone was going to have a blemish on their record. And so that was great. I mean, both of them have great memories at the bowl game. And they were both very excited to be there. And so it was great. Both those programs are well run, well coached, and we enjoyed having them in our game.
Let me ask sort of broad strokes, I guess, as you look at whether it's the bowl system, college football at large, like college sports is obviously evolving a ton, whether it's the House settlement or otherwise. What are some of the things or the trends that you're monitoring or you maybe are taking up most of your time right now that you feel like you're paying attention to?
Well, I think some of the change that is now happening, we have to monitor how do we do what we do inside those new guidelines, right? So it used to be that teams would come for 4 to 7 days and they'd be in market and you can get them out in the community, they get a sense of the place where they're playing. Now, essentially for the CFP games, they come in, they practice, they do media, they play, and then they move on, hopefully, or they go back home. And so we've had to figure out how do we bring them some of that excitement, some of that insight that our marketplace can provide uniquely within the confines of that new structure. So mostly at the hotel, right, where they are. So that's been a challenge because we still want them to walk away feeling like they learned some things, they were exposed to some things that they wouldn't have otherwise been exposed to. So I think that's been a challenge. I think in terms of trends, we're following kind of what's happening on the NIL side of things. You know, I get asked all the time, do we think that bowl games will get involved in NIL? You know, currently we're not allowed to. I don't know that that's a thing that we feel like we should be involved in. I'm hoping that as part of the playoff, if you're playing and you have an agreement, however that comes to be, with your university to play, you play in all the games that your team plays in, including the postseason games. And so we're monitoring that kind of thing, and then always trying to figure out how we can provide more value not only to the programs and the schools, but in particular to the student athletes wherever we can.
Erik Moses with the Fiesta Bowl. Erik, thanks so much for taking a few minutes and
Always,
chatting
man.
with us.
Always.